So you want to exit the day-to-day running of your business so you can become a true business owner instead of running around chasing customers, running around chasing invoices, and running around solving problems for your staff. In this video, I'll be giving you the keys on how you can exit the day-to-day running of your business and become a strategic owner of your business. So this is the ultimate goal of a lot of people when they want to start a business. They want to start a business so they can be their own boss and live life on their terms. But when the business grows, then it gets to a certain point that many business owners, they feel trapped in their business because everything is running through them. Now, it's very famous that many business owners haven't been on holiday for years, not because they can't afford to go on holiday, but because if they step out of their business, the business is going to fail. Now, the ultimate real end goal that you want to have as a business owner is that you have a dashboard that you use to look at your entire business and you can make decisions based on that dashboard. When you get to that position as a business owner, you have truly become a business owner, a shareholder, or strategic owner of your business, and you can run your business from anywhere in the world. But before you get to that position of being able to run your business from a dashboard and making decisions, you need to be able to actually exit the day-to-day first. Now, the first thing that you need to do, and I've stolen this from Alex Hormozi, is that you need to do a time assessment of what you are doing in your business every 15 minutes. Now, every 15 minutes is probably a little bit too tight, but every half an hour is still okay. Every 15 minutes, if you have to write something down, it's a little bit too annoying, but every half an hour, generally speaking, even if you're working 10 hours a day in your business, then you can do 20 entries and you're done. So the reason why you want to do this is, as he says, Alex Hormozi, is that you want to identify what is it that you're actually doing in your business. Many business owners think they're doing one thing, but they're actually doing 10 other things that they have subconsciously forgot about. Now, once you do this, and once you do this from Monday to Friday, if unfortunately you're working like some business owners 6 or 7 days a week, Monday to Sunday, then you'll get a clear idea of what you need to do and what other people can do. And the other good thing is that if you're only doing 1 or 2 things in your business, it's normally a lot easier for you to exit the day-to-day of the business. The more that the business owner does, the harder it becomes for you to exit the day-to-day running of your business, because normally you as an entrepreneur have made the personal sacrifice, the professional sacrifice for the sake of the success of your business to do those multiple things. But the people that you want to hand over those duties to won't make that same decision like you did, because it's not their business. That's why they're not going to do it. So that's why I say if you're only doing 1 or 2 things in your business, it's normally a lot easier for you to exit the day-to-day. So let me give you an example of what that means. You're running your business and you're just doing the sales of your business and you're managing the overall business. In that instance, the first thing that you need to do, or the only thing you really need to do, is to hire a salesperson, because then you can actually continue to run your business. And once certain structures have been set up and other SOPs have been set up, you can start managing your business a little bit more at arm's length, a little bit more at a distance, because it's not required, you're not required to be there to ensure that sales are being made, that product and services are being delivered to your customers, that money is being collected, and that the customers continue to come in and or to be resold depending on the type of business you have. So that's really easy. However, if you're involved in the marketing of the business and you're involved in the sales of the business, and then you do a little bit of helping on the product delivery side of the business as well, and you're managing your business, now you're doing 4 things. And then in that instance, you have to hire at least 2 people, if not 3 people. Because in that instance, when you're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, and you're helping out on the product delivery side, that's 3 separate roles. So a lot of people, business owners, I see this, is that when they are getting help on their product and delivery side, because that is the first thing that you need to hire out. Actually, admin is the first thing that you need to hire out, but the second thing that you need to hire out is the product and service delivery side of things. And normally they hire someone part-time who can just take some of the burden off them as a business owner. But what you can do is that you can actually hire that person full-time and say, right, instead of you only working 3 days a week and assisting me in the product and service delivery, Why don't you just work 5 days a week and take over that completely? Now, even then, when you're running the business on a one person handling one department, that's still risky. Because what happens when that person leaves? I've seen this. In fact, I've got a friend who runs a business, and it's happened to him 3 times. He never learns, right? I tell him again and again that he needs to hire more people. It's happened to him 3 times where someone's helping him on the customer service and product delivery side. He's got product based business, so product delivery side of the business. And 3 times that person has left. And then he has to run in and cover that role. So that's why you need to ideally hire at least 2 people, that if one person left, you still got that one person who's got, maybe a bigger load, bigger capacity of work that needs to be done, but you're hiring someone who can go and backfill that and give them the support that you need to ensure that the product and service delivery is continuing regardless of who's in there. So product and service delivery is now hired out. Let's say you're also doing the marketing and the sales. Ideally, you need to hire a salesperson internally, because the good thing is that there are a lot of lead generation businesses out there. Now, you're going to have to pay a certain amount of money to employ these lead generation services. But generally speaking, there's one of 2 ways that you need to look at lead generation. If you can generate leads very, very profitably and reliably from within your business, and you've got a system for that, then you can hire within and you can just give your system to the marketing person that you hire. However, if you don't have those systems laid out and they don't work like clockwork, then ideally what you can do is that you can tell a lead gen agency is that this is how you normally do the marketing, and they're actually going to improve your process. Very rarely you're going to find that your process is better than theirs, because that's what they do. They do lead generation for businesses. So find a specialist company that does lead generation in your particular industry, and they're going to be able to actually produce more leads. Yes, you're going to have to pay for it, but they're going to produce normally more leads and higher quality leads to ensure that you can continue servicing in your business. Now, the reason why you want to hire a salesperson internally is I haven't seen a sales agency which really does a good job unless they're selling into the high ticket market. So if you're selling a very high price product, ideally, vehicles, cars, or some sort of expensive B2B service, then generally speaking, you need to hire internally. Because the other sales agencies, number one, they are too expensive for you because they specialize in selling high price products and services. And number two, you can actually hire salespeople to sell for you in your product and service in your business, and it's not that expensive. Because most salespeople, you can just hire them for the minimum wage, whatever the minimum wage is in your country, and you can pay them a commission. Now, you need to understand what your profit is on the sale of a product or service to be able to hire that person, because the commission has to make sense for you to continue to generate the profit. As long as you know that, you can set up a wage structure and you can set a commission structure up to ensure that that salesperson does a good job when they're selling. So in this instance, you've now exited the day-to-day because you've got a lead gen agency doing the marketing for you, you've hired a salesperson internally, and you have someone who's doing the product and service delivery. Then you just become the manager of your business, and then you've exited most of the day-to-day. So that, and all of that stems from you writing down every 30 minutes what you are doing. Now you need to do that for a week. And whenever you do something, because in business, there's always something that you have to do once a month, for example. So that kind of thing, when that new thing comes that you haven't already written down in the week, then you write that down, say, right, generally speaking, on Monday to Friday, I'm doing all of these things, but once a month, I have to also do this as well, which is maybe reporting or something like that. So that also gets written down and added to your list of things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So once you've actually written everything down, and the second step is to hire, I've already gone through that actually in the previous examples, is to hire those roles out. Start off with the cheapest hires, and then go to those hires which are like a salesperson, which is normally a low fixed cost, but the commission is variable. And then the other one is lead gen, which obviously you can do through a lead gen agency, so you don't have to actually have to hire an employee there. Now, the next thing that you need to do is to actually write down all of the SOPs, the standard operating practices and procedures, is because you know this. is that even if you have employees right now, if they're having to come to you for every single question, you are the bottleneck in your business. Because let's say, for example, the lead gen agency, they have to come to you to ask a question. The salesperson has to come to you to ask a question. The person who's delivering the product or services has to come to you to ask a question. Your bookkeeper has to come to, or your finance person has to go and come and ask you the question. Your administrator has to come and ask you a question. And you're the one who's answering all the questions, and you're answering the same questions again and again. That is the recipe for disaster. And all you need to do is to create an SOP. Because it's okay. Let's say, for example, your administrator asks you the questions 3 times. Now, the administrator, after those 3 times, knows what to do. But what about the new thing that they're faced with? They have to come to ask again. But you know that that's going to come up anyway. Just write an SOP and say, here you go. Here's the manual for your job role. Read this, and if anything, there's a question other than that, then you can come to me. And then how do you know that you need to write another SOP for the other question that's going to pop around? If you are asked that question more than 3 times, you need to create an SOP for that. Yeah. So the rule is all of your standard practices within your business, you need to create an SOP for it. And then if you are asked a question by any staff member on a particular topic, and they ask you that question more than 3 times, or you're asked that question more than 3 times, and remember, let's say you've got 2 people who are helping you on the product or service delivery, or 3 people who are helping you on the product and service delivery. Each one of those people asks you that question once. That's still, you've been asked that question 3 times. So because you've been asked that question 3 times from 3 different people once, you need to create an SOP for that. Same thing for all of your roles. To create an SOP and ensure that your people know to access that SOP as well. One of the things that I faced is that I created a SOP library and people were still asking me the questions. And then I said, well, haven't you just been to the library? I call it Horizon. So haven't you just been to Horizon and checked whether the process is there? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that the process was there. Well, did you check? No, I didn't. So you have to direct them to go to the SOP as well. So there's one thing creating the SOP, and then the other one is creating the behavior of your team members to go to where those SOPs are stored. Now, one of the best ways to do it is actually just to have a booklet, a physical booklet. I decided not to do that and to have it in Horizon, which is a digital cloud-based area within Microsoft 365. So I have all of my SOPs in there. You can have it however you want. Maybe you have a booklet and you have the backup on the cloud. That's perfectly fine. But create the behavior that they need to go there first. Now, after you have written down everything that you have done, you've identified that a hire needs to be made, you've made the hire, and then you've created all of the SOPs, you need to now look at how many hours do you continue to work. Because if you're still having to work more than 30 hours a week managing your overall business, then there's still work that needs to be done in giving accountability to your staff members. Because the only way that, or giving them metrics that they are responsible for, right? So the only way that they're going to break free from relying on you for everything is if you make them own a particular aspect of the business. And the only way that they're going to own a particular aspect of the business is if you give them a particular metric that they are accountable for. So let's say, for example, that your salesperson has to close 15 deals a week. Right, salesperson has to close 15 deals a week to ensure that the team who are providing the product and service delivery have enough work to continue to provide the product and service delivery. If, for example, the sales drop below 15, then that salesperson then comes to you and say, look, if they are doing more than 15, that they continue. And they identify areas on how they can make that more than 15, and then go to from 15 sales to 20 sales, 20 sales to 25 sales, and so on. Sometimes it's just adding another body and then repeating the process. But if, for example, they drop below 15, that's when they know that, okay, I'm doing something which I need to now either look at my sales process, I need to look at what I'm saying to the customers, or I need to look at what's happening to the lead gen as well, because there's the other problem. So if the sales are above 15, the sales are above 20, because you've given that minimum number, they don't really have to come to you for much. All you have to do is you have to monitor best practices and see how you can get them to a higher and higher number. But as soon as it drops below 15, that's the accountability number. that's when they do have to communicate with you and you have to communicate with them, because that's having an impact on the rest of the business and the profitability on how much that you can take out. So giving that number is absolutely key. So to make 15 sales, at least 15 sales in a week, let's say, for example, you need to have 150 leads that come in on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, I should say, because for whatever reason, it's a 10% conversion rate. So now the lead gen agency has to deliver 150 leads a week. So that number is now accountable. And if it's above 150 leads a week and your salesperson is converting at a 10% rate of the leads that come in, then that's great. But as soon as that number drops below 150, if it ever drops below 150 leads a week, that's when you have to get involved. So as long as you create those accountabilities and you create a dashboard, because that dashboard, that's where the dashboard comes in. Only because you've got these numbers, you're able to create the dashboard, because on that dashboard, you're going to see leads generated in a week, 150 or more, tick. Sales made in a week, 15 or more, tick. All 15 of those, for example, have been product or service delivered, tick. So no follow-up customer service issues. If there's more than one, then there's a problem with customer service, because in there your leads are working, your sales are working, product and service is being delivered. However, there's more than 2 issues in a week. That's where you need to look at customer service, or maybe you need to look at the product or service delivery. So you have these metrics in place, and then you can just receive that dashboard and you can make decisions based on it. So that's how you exit the day-to-day running of the business. Start with writing down everything that you do every 30 minutes for an entire week and monitor that for over a month, because if any new tasks get added on, then you will add that onto the list. Then you hire people, starting off with the cheapest hires or the hires that are going to free up most of your time. You finally hired every single rollout. Then you build SOP library, and then you have accountabilities around those particular numbers that are metrics. And once you have those metrics, then you create your dashboard. Once you've got your dashboard, if you are working more than 30 hours a week, there's something seriously wrong. And that is not seriously wrong with the business. It's normally seriously or something wrong with you. In that case, I would say that you're a control freak and you need to get some therapy to help yourself from being a control freak, because if your business is running optimally and you've got the growth projection that you need to continue to survive, then your business is working well and you can take a step back and exit the day to day. And once you've exited the day to day and you become a strategic manager, then you're just working on growth. You know, the cliche, you're not working in the business, you're working on the business. How can I get more leads? How can I get more sales? How can I deliver product or service better, faster, more efficiently, cheaper? And how can I have zero customer complaints? How can I get people to buy again and again from my business? You start working on strategy and you start working on the things that are really going to grow your business. And that's how you exit the day to day. Now, once you've exited the day to day, you have a lot more options. You can sit back and relax and spend more time with your friends and family. You can grow your business to new heights, which is more work, obviously, but you have to go take your business to the next level. Or you can actually even sell your business. Because once you become a strategic owner or shareholder of your business becomes a lot more valuable, and then you can exit your business. You've already done the operational exit. You may have done a strategic exit to become a shareholder, but you can move on to do what I called a full exit, is when you sell your business. So if you want to exit the day today, continue watching videos on this channel, and especially if you want to sell your business, click the link in the description, and I will have a confidential conversation with you on how you can sell your business, and I'll see you in the next video.